She called 911 on me for parking in my own driveway. It was barely 6 a.m. I hadn't even shut off my engine yet when she stormed across my lawn in a silk robe, pounding on my window like I was a criminal. "Move this junk," she snapped, "or I'm calling the cops." I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just watched her dial. Her perfume burned my nose through the cracked window. The gravel was still crunching under my tires. And that smile on her face? Like she already knew how this would end. For me. 5 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up. The officer stepped out, glanced at her, then looked at me. "Morning, Chief." The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might pass out. And that was just the beginning of her problems. Ever had a neighbor call the cops on you for something completely legal? Drop your story in the comments below. Stick around, because this 911 call didn't end with a warning. It ended with federal eyes watching everything she touched. Let me back up. My name's Garrett Boone. Friends call me Bo. I'm 43, been wearing a badge for 18 years, and 6 months ago I made Chief of Police for Willow Ridge County, population 67,000. Not a huge department, 32 officers, a handful of detectives, enough paperwork to bury me. But it's my town. I grew up here. I know every street. When my mom passed last year, I bought her house, the one I grew up in. A 1960s ranch on Oakmont Drive, working-class neighborhood, chain-link fences, big oak trees dropping leaves constantly. The driveway's L-shaped. One arm goes to the detached garage, the other creates a parking pad. My mom used to let neighbors turn around in it. I kept that tradition, until Cassidy Whitmore moved in next door. Cassidy's 51, works in luxury real estate consultation, timeshares basically. Platinum hair that could survive a hurricane, French nails always tapping her phone, and a leased Mercedes she can barely afford. She bought the Colonial next door 6 months ago. White columns, bigger than my place. That seems to bother her. First week she knocked with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Your oak tree drops leaves in my yard. Trim it back?" I touched the trunk, bark rough and warm under my palm. 100 years old, on my property line. "I'll rake your yard weekly if you want." Her smile went thin. "I'm sure we can find a more permanent solution." Week 3, it escalated. I came home from night shift at 6 a.m., coffee cold in the cup holder. Parked my '85 Bronco, forest green, restored myself, on the pad like always. 47 minutes later, Cassidy pounded on my door in a silk robe. "Your truck is an eyesore. Park it in the garage or on the street." "It's my driveway, ma'am. No HOA here. Vehicle's legal and registered." "I have important clients this weekend. That thing lowers my property value." "I'm not moving it." Her heels clicked sharp on concrete as she stormed back to her house. I thought that was it. That evening, I returned from the grocery store, pulled into the same spot. Cassidy came out immediately, held up her phone, dialed 911. "Ma'am, this is my property. I'm not breaking any laws." She ignored me, speaking loud enough for me to hear. "There's a suspicious vehicle blocking access. The driver's refusing to move. I feel threatened." I recognized dispatcher Stella's voice, 15-year veteran. Confused pause when she heard my address. I called non-emergency. "Stella, it's Bo. Send an officer. I want this documented." Cassidy's eyes narrowed. "You're lying." 10 minutes later, Officer McNally pulled up, my old partner. He took her statement while she stood there radiating smugness. Then he turned to me. "Chief, you need anything else?" The word hit like a brick. Cassidy froze. "Chief?" "Yes, ma'am. You just called 911 on the chief of police for parking legally in his own driveway." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "I want your supervisor." McNally stayed professional. "Ma'am, you're looking at him." After McNally left, Cassidy stood in her driveway. The street light buzzed above us. A sprinkler hissed down the block. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass and motor oil. Then she smiled, cold this time. "You think a badge makes you special? I know people, important people. This isn't over." Her heels clicked like gunshots back to her house. I stood there and realized she wasn't going to stop. Inside, I opened my laptop and started a file. Dates, times, witnesses, photos, everything. My gut told me I'd need every piece of it. The next 10 days, Cassidy stopped being annoying and became strategic. She couldn't claim illegal parking anymore, so she found new angles. It started on a Saturday morning. I was mowing my lawn, electric mower, barely louder than a vacuum, when my phone buzzed. Dispatch. Chief, we got a noise complaint for your address. I killed the engine. You're serious? Wish I wasn't. Caller says you're violating noise ordinance. The grass clippings stuck to my shoes, damp and fresh smelling, as I walked to meet Officer Ramirez. He pulled up trying not to grin. Let me guess, I said. 10 a.m. on a Saturday, electric mower. He checked his tablet. Noise allowed 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. weekends. You're clear. Cassidy's curtain moved in her window, just enough to let me know she was watching. No violation, but it was logged, official record, exactly what she wanted. I went inside and opened a notebook, started writing. Date, time, complaint, officer, outcome. I had a feeling this list was going to get long. 4 days later, I came home to find a stranger in my yard with surveying equipment. Didn't recognize the company name on his vest. Can I help you? He showed me a work order. Cassidy had hired him. Hadn't notified me, which is technically legal, but it's the kind of move you make when you're looking for a fight. She says your fence is 4 inches onto her property. The fence had been there since 1973. I'd gotten a certified survey when I bought the house 6 months ago. I retrieved it from my filing cabinet. The paper's still crisp, county seal embossed in the corner. Here, fence is exactly where it should be. The surveyor compared his numbers to mine, frowned. Yeah, you're right. I'll let her know. 2 days later, certified mail. Cassidy demanding I remove the fence within 30 days or face legal action. My attorney buddy drafted a response for free, attached my survey, the original building permit, and a suggestion that she verify her surveyor's credentials. When I looked up the company online, I understood why her measurements were wrong. The reviews were brutal. Lots of angry homeowners talking about manufactured property disputes. I'd seen this kind of thing before in my years on the force. Shady surveyors who tell clients what they want to hear. She'd gone shopping for the answer she wanted. The following Sunday, I finished installing a new sprinkler system. Took me all weekend, but I'd saved $1,200 doing it myself. Tested every head. Perfect pressure, perfect coverage. Next afternoon, I came home to find 3 heads snapped off. Cassidy was in her yard on the phone. When she saw me notice, she walked over. Oh, that. My landscaping crew accidentally stepped on them. Sorry. Her crew was her nephew with a weed whacker. I'd watched him work the week before. I crouched down to inspect the damage. The flower bed soil was still soft from watering. The footprints were clear. Deliberate stomps, not accidental steps. The breaks were clean fractures, the kind you get from focused force. I pulled out my phone. Photoed everything. The broken heads, the footprint patterns, the trajectory from her yard to mine. Insurance claim requires a police report. I had Deputy Chen handle it. Kept myself out of it completely. He documented every detail, and when he was done, he gave me a look that said what we both knew. This is harassment, Chief. I know. That's why we're documenting it. 3 days later, Cassidy discovered Facebook. She'd never been active in the neighborhood group before, but Wednesday night at 9, her first post went live. Concerned about aggressive behavior from certain residents who think badges put them above community standards. When authority figures intimidate neighbors, where do we turn? No name. Didn't need one. She'd taken a selfie with my house perfectly framed in the background. I watched the comments roll in. Some newer residents liked it, people who didn't know me, didn't know the history. But Mrs. Delacroix, the retired teacher who'd known me since I was 7 years old, shut it down fast. Garrett Boone has lived here 43 years and never caused trouble. Maybe look inward, Cassidy. 15 more neighbors piled on. Cassidy deleted the post an hour later. I'd already screenshot everything. That night, I spread the evidence across my kitchen table. 3 complaints, all dismissed. A bogus survey, vandalized property, social media attacks. A pattern, clear as day. I noticed something else. Every complaint came when I was in uniform, coming home from shift or heading out. She was documenting me, building some kind of case. Friday evening, I found a manila envelope taped to my door. Inside, photos of me in uniform, climbing into my Bronco. Dozens of them, taken over several days. A handwritten note. Public servants should set examples, not demand special treatment. Parking enforcement applies to everyone. The concrete step was still warm when I sat down on it. The evening air smelled like someone grilling burgers 3 houses down. Normal neighborhood sounds, kids playing, a dog barking. But nothing about this felt normal anymore. I made a call to dispatch, requested all 911 and non-emergency records for my address, past 30 days. Public information, anyone can access it. The report came back the next day, 11 calls, all from Cassidy's number, all unfounded. Oakmont Drive is 12 houses. In 30 days, my address accounted for 73% of all calls on the entire street. 1 woman, 11 false reports, 0 legitimate complaints. I added the call logs to my binder. It was getting thick, 4 inches thick to be exact, and I had a feeling we were just getting started. Cassidy found herself a politician. County Supervisor Brent Hollister, 59 years old, owns 3 car dealerships, got elected on a platform of government accountability. He's been angling for a state senate run for 2 years now, needs some headlines to build his reputation. Cassidy bought her Mercedes from one of his dealerships, flirted her way into his office. Now she had his ear, and that was dangerous. She framed me as a corrupt cop living above the law in his own neighborhood. Hollister saw an opportunity. Tough on police misconduct plays well with certain voters. Never mind that there was no actual misconduct. Perception matters more than truth in politics. Day 23. Cassidy filed a formal ethics complaint with the county board. The allegations read like fiction: abuse of position, intimidation of a civilian, misuse of department resources. She claimed I'd sent patrol cars to harass and surveil her, which was backwards. She'd called them. But facts didn't seem to matter. The complaint triggered a mandatory review. I had 14 days to respond in writing. Standard procedure, nothing personal, but Hollister made sure it became personal. He leaked the complaint to the local paper before I even received official notification. The headline hit on a Wednesday: Police Chief under investigation for neighbor dispute. My phone started ringing before I finished my coffee. The story made me look guilty before I could even defend myself. That's how these things work. Accusation gets front page, exoneration gets page 7 in 2 weeks. I couldn't discuss pending investigations publicly, department policy. So I stayed quiet while half the county formed opinions based on Cassidy's version of events. But I could submit my response to the board, and I made it count. 47 pages with appendices, every call record, every dispatch log, every photo, every witness statement, every piece of documentation I'd been collecting. I included testimony from officers McNally and Ramirez. They'd responded to her calls, not because I sent them, but because she dialed 911. I attached audio recordings of her calls. Public record. You could hear the false claims in her own voice. Suspicious vehicle, threatening behavior, feeling unsafe. All lies, all documented. Day 28 brought a new tactic. Someone sent an anonymous letter to every city council member, claimed I was using department vehicles for personal errands, spotted at the hardware store, at a coffee shop, various locations during work hours. The implication was clear. I was abusing taxpayer resources. The city manager had to investigate. No choice. Every trip they mentioned checked out. Hardware store, emergency equipment purchase, receipt attached. Coffee shop, meeting with the owner about a string of break-ins in his parking lot, documented in case files. But the investigation took time, and that's what Cassidy wanted. Keep me on defense. Keep me explaining myself. Death by 1,000 cuts. I figured out she was following me when I spotted her Mercedes 3 cars back on Route 9. White Mercedes with a dent in the rear quarter panel. Kind of hard to miss. The letter had included specific dates and times that matched days I'd seen her tailing me. She was building a file on me the same way I was building one on her. Difference was, mine contained facts. Day 31. Mrs. Delacroix knocked on my door, holding a casserole dish and some interesting information. She'd been at an open house 2 streets over. Just curious, she said, likes to see how people decorate. Cassidy had been there too, talking to potential buyers. She was telling them about the dangerous police chief who threatens residents, Mrs. Delacroix said, her voice tight with anger. Said the neighborhood was cleaning up, and property values were rising because of it. That's when I understood the bigger picture. Cassidy had listed her house 2 weeks earlier. Asking price, $615,000. She'd paid $490,000 6 months ago. She was trying to flip it fast, and she needed a story to justify the markup. Drive out the problematic neighbor, claim she'd improve the community, cash out before anyone caught on. Day 35. She tried to have my Bronco towed. I was working overnight, parked on the street to give her zero ammunition. At 3 a.m., a tow truck showed up. Mrs. Delacroix saw it from her window. She doesn't sleep well these days, and called me at the station. I got there as the driver was hooking up the chains. He had a work order claiming an abandoned vehicle blocking access. I showed him my registration, my insurance card, my badge. The truck driver was apologetic. Lady called it in, offered me $200 cash if I just got it done without calling the owner. He showed me the work order, Cassidy's address, her phone number, her signature. Attempted theft of a vehicle is a crime, even if you call it a tow. I didn't arrest her, yet, but I documented everything. Sent the driver on his way with a copy of the report. Day 38. The county board completed their ethics review. All allegations unfounded. Evidence showed Cassidy had initiated all contacts. No misuse of position, no abuse of authority, no misconduct of any kind. Complaint dismissed with prejudice, meaning she couldn't refile the same claims. But Hollister had already gotten what he wanted. The dismissal got 3 paragraphs on page 7. The accusation had been front-page news. I was cleared, but the damage was done. Some people would always remember the headline, not the outcome. That night, I started digging into Cassidy's background, public records, property transactions, business licenses, court filings. I found the first breadcrumb. She'd been sued 3 times by former business partners in 2 different states. Same pattern every time. Take deposits, make promises, disappear when things got complicated. I printed everything I found and added it to the binder. It was time to stop playing defense. Time to find out who Cassidy Whitmore really was. Cassidy was getting desperate. The ethics complaint had failed. My reputation was intact with the people who mattered. But her house still wasn't selling, overpriced in a bad market, and word was getting around about the difficult neighbor who lived there. Her mortgage payment was killing her. The Mercedes lease was 2 months behind. Credit card bills were piling up from maintaining that Scottsdale lifestyle she couldn't actually afford. Financial pressure makes people do stupid things. Day 44. Mrs. Delacroix's beagle got sick. Biscuit, 15 years old, sweet as they come, started vomiting in the backyard. Mrs. Delacroix rushed him to the vet, terrified. The vet found slug bait pellets in his system. Toxic, but treatable. Biscuit would survive, but it was close. Before Mrs. Delacroix even got home from the vet, Cassidy was on Facebook. Neighborhood pet poisoner on the loose. Wonder if it's the same public servant who thinks rules don't apply to him. The implication was crystal clear. She was accusing me of poisoning a 15-year-old dog. I don't use pesticides, haven't in years. My yard is certified wildlife friendly. I've got the plaques from the county conservation program mounted in my garage. But I do have doorbell cameras now. I pulled the footage from 2 days earlier. There it was, Cassidy's nephew spreading slug bait in her yard. The wind had been strong that afternoon. The pellets had blown straight into Mrs. Delacroix's flower beds. I shared the footage with Mrs. Delacroix. With her permission, she posted it to Facebook. The neighborhood turned on Cassidy fast. Several people messaged me privately. She tried this with us too. She accused our son of scratching her car. She reported our home business to the county. Completely legal business. We had all the permits. A pattern. This wasn't just about me. This was how she operated. Day 48 brought something worse. My brother Marcus visited with his kids, twin girls, 7 years old. They were playing in my backyard, completely supervised, just being kids, laughing, running around, normal stuff. 2 days later, Marcus got a visit from Child Protective Services. Anonymous report. Children seen playing unsupervised near a dangerous individual with weapons in home. The CPS investigator was apologetic. She recognized my address immediately, knew this was garbage, but she had to follow up. It's the law. Every report gets investigated. She spent 15 minutes in Marcus's house, saw the girls were happy and healthy, and closed the case on the spot. But Marcus was shaken. His ex-wife could use this in their custody arrangement. A CPS visit on record, even one that was dismissed, could be weaponized. The report had specifically mentioned police chief's house. Only someone obsessed with me would phrase it that way. Day 52. My contractors started no-showing. I had a roofer scheduled to fix storm damage from the previous month. He didn't show up. When I called, he claimed I'd canceled. "You texted me yesterday," he said, "from this number." He showed me the text. It was one digit off from my actual number. Spoofed. Second contractor, gutter cleaning. Same thing. Canceled by text from a number that looked like mine but wasn't. Third contractor, HVAC service, actually showed up, confused, with a cancellation text on his phone. Someone was systematically sabotaging my home repairs. Day 56. My mail stopped arriving. 3 days, nothing. Not even junk mail. I called the post office. The carrier said someone matching Cassidy's description had picked it up, claimed to be my wife, showed an ID. I'm not married. Never have been. Missing mail included my bank statement, insurance renewal, and property tax bill. All time sensitive. All important. Mail theft is a federal crime, but proving it without footage of the actual handoff was difficult. The late fees started adding up. Property taxes overdue because I never got the bill. Insurance nearly lapsed. Day 58. I came home from a 12-hour shift, exhausted. The sun was setting, painting Cassidy's white columns orange and gold. Beautiful evening. Wrong circumstances. Found a notice from the county. Property taxes overdue. Late penalties accruing. I was standing in my driveway, reading the notice, when Cassidy came out of her house. She smiled, that cold smile I'd come to recognize. Having trouble keeping up with adult responsibilities, Chief? Every muscle in my body wanted to respond, to snap back, to let her see how angry I was. That's exactly what she wanted. One moment of lost control, one raised voice, one aggressive gesture she could photograph and report. I waved, smiled back, walked inside, closed the door, leaned against it. The wood was cool against my shoulders. I could hear her heels clicking back to her house, sharp, satisfied clicks. My hands were shaking slightly, not from fear, from restraint. 3 deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. She was trying to provoke me into giving her ammunition. I wasn't going to take the bait. I opened my laptop. The keyboard keys clicked softly under my fingers as I started digging deeper into Cassidy Whitmore's past. Courthouse records, county clerk databases, business licensing offices across 3 states. The trail was there. I just had to follow it. Arizona, 2017, business partner lawsuit, breach of contract. She'd taken deposits for timeshare sales presentations, then disappeared. Nevada, 2019, eviction filing, unpaid rent, fled in the middle of the night. California, 2021, small claims judgments, multiple clients claiming fraud, promises made, money taken, services never delivered. And then, 2023, bankruptcy filing, dismissed because she'd hidden assets. She moved every 18 to 24 months, left financial chaos in her wake. New state, new name variation, new scam. But this time, she'd picked the wrong neighbor. I cross-referenced her current house purchase documents. Stated income loan, minimal documentation required. She'd claimed income from luxury real estate consulting. I searched for her business license. Expired. No active LLC. No tax filings in the public record. There it was. Mortgage fraud. She'd lied about her income to get the loan. That's a federal crime. And I had just found her vulnerability. The pieces came together over 72 hours. I called in a favor from an old colleague, Agent Yolanda Reeves, FBI White Collar Crime Division. We'd worked a case together 5 years back. She owed me one. "Send me what you have," she said. I emailed her everything. Property records, business filings, court documents from 3 states, the timeline I'd built. 3 days later, my phone rang. "Bo, you need to hear this." Cassidy wasn't just a difficult neighbor. She was a professional con artist. She'd run this exact scheme 8 times in 5 states over 9 years. The pattern was always the same. Purchase a house with a fraudulent stated income loan. Minimal down payment, lie about earnings, banks rarely verify anymore. Move in. Immediately create conflict with a neighbor, preferably someone who looks bad when they fight back. Authority figures were her favorite targets. Cops, city officials, business owners. Make their life hell. Document everything. Frame it as standing up to abuse of power. Then, flip the house within 12 months. Claim the neighborhood cleaned up, thanks to her efforts. Pocket 80 to 120,000 in profit. Leave before the bank realizes the income documentation was fraudulent. She'd done this to a fire captain in Arizona, a county supervisor in Nevada, a school principal in California. Always the same playbook, always just ahead of the consequences. Why'd she target me? I asked. She didn't, Reeves said. She bought the house before she knew you were a cop. Pure bad luck, for her. When she realized the police chief lived next door, she panicked. Having law enforcement that close meant someone might actually investigate her. That's why the harassment started immediately. She wasn't just trying to flip the house anymore. She was trying to destroy my credibility preemptively, so if I ever did look into her background, it would look like revenge. We've been tracking her since California, Reeves continued. Had a tip from a victim there, but she disappeared before we could build a case. Now she's in your jurisdiction, and you've been documenting everything. The FBI wanted to build a case, but they needed current evidence, proof she was committing fraud right now, not just that she'd done it before. Can you keep documenting without tipping her off? Reeves asked. I thought about it. As police chief, I should hand this to the FBI and step back. As a victim, I wanted to see her face when she realized she'd picked the wrong mark. As someone who protects this community, I knew she'd just run again and do this to another family somewhere else. I'll document everything, I said, but I want to be there when you confront her. Deal. The plan took shape over the next week. FBI would coordinate with the district attorney, build parallel cases, federal mortgage fraud, and state harassment charges. Timeline: 45 days to gather evidence. My role: be the defeated victim she thought I was. Let her get bolder. Let her make mistakes. The key evidence we needed: current income documentation, proving she had no legitimate income, proof of intent to flip and flee, documentation of the harassment campaign establishing her pattern, and witness testimony from neighbors. Agent Reeves explained the legal framework. Stated income loans used to be common before 2008. Now they're heavily regulated. Falsifying income on a federally insured loan is wire fraud under 18 U.S. Code Section 1343. Cross state lines while doing it? That's the FBI's jurisdiction. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Not revenge, justice. I thought about all the families she'd done this to before. The fire captain who probably got complaints filed against him. The principal who might have faced school board investigations. All the people she'd hurt to make a quick profit. This was bigger than my driveway. The next 45 days, Cassidy would think she was winning. She'd actually be building her own prison. I opened my safe and locked the FBI case folder inside. The metallic click of the lock felt satisfying. Final. Cassidy's laughter drifted from next door through my open window. Laugh while you can, I thought. The clock's ticking. The next 45 days, I became two people. On the surface, I was the defeated neighbor, tired, beaten down, exactly what Cassidy wanted to see. Underneath, I was building the most thorough case file of my career. Day 59 through 65 was pure documentation. I installed additional security cameras. PoE system, power over Ethernet. One cable carries both power and data, which means no batteries to die, no wireless signal to jam, and continuous recording with verifiable timestamps. Cost me $380 for a 4-camera system. Professional installation would have been $1,200, but I'd learned years ago that anything you can do yourself is evidence you controlled from start to finish. Courts love PoE footage because the timestamp is hardwired into the network, nearly impossible to fake. Position them to cover my driveway, front yard, mailbox, and a portion of the street. All perfectly legal. My property, my cameras. Every angle Cassidy could approach from was now on film. Mrs. Delacroix became my unofficial intel network. I explained, vaguely, that I was building documentation for a legal matter. She didn't need details. She volunteered immediately. That woman tried to tell my daughter I was too old to live alone, she said, her voice sharp with anger. Wanted her to put me in a home. Mrs. Delacroix started a neighborhood text chain. 5 families joined within an hour. Turned out Cassidy had been working overtime to isolate me. The Okonkwo's, 2 houses down, she'd reported them for running an unauthorized business. They run a legitimate home-based accounting firm with all proper licenses. Gary Tinsdale across the street. She'd accused his teenage son of vandalizing her car. His security footage proved the damage happened in a grocery store parking lot. The Kowalskis. She'd tried to get their basketball hoop removed. Called it an attractive nuisance. Everyone had a story. Everyone had documentation. I compiled it all. Days 66 through 75. I focused on her finances. County clerk's office became my second home. Public records requests for property liens, business licenses, tax assessments. It's amazing what's available if you know where to look. Cassidy owed $14,200 in back property taxes in California. Lien filed. Still unpaid. 3 credit card judgments totaling $37,000 from various collection agencies. Her Mercedes, leased, 2 payments behind. I confirmed through a contact at the dealership who owed me a favor from a vandalism case I'd solved. She was hemorrhaging money. Desperate for the house flip to work. I met with District Attorney Patricia Mendoza. Professional relationship, no conflict of interest. She handles prosecutions, I handle investigations. She explained the strategy. FBI would handle the federal mortgage fraud charges. Her office would prosecute the state-level harassment charges. Parallel prosecutions meant if she somehow wiggled out of one, the other would stick. Timing was critical. File both simultaneously to prevent flight risk. Day 76 through 85, we set the trap. Agent Reeves proposed using the town council meeting. Cassidy had already requested time to speak about police accountability. She was planning to publicly attack me, demand my resignation. Perfect. Let her speak. While she's at the podium, FBI serves the warrant. Maximum public consequence in the forum she chose. I started compiling the master evidence file. 847 pages of documentation, 200 plus hours of security footage, burned to disks and uploaded to secure servers. 23 witness statements from neighbors, all notarized. Financial records showing her fraud pattern across 5 states. FBI forensic accounting report tracking her income claims versus actual earnings. A timeline showing every act of harassment cross-referenced with dates and responding officers. The binder was now 6 inches thick. I spoke at the neighborhood watch meeting. Cassidy wasn't invited. Mrs. Delacroix made sure of that. I kept it vague. The situation is being handled through official channels. I appreciate everyone's patience and support. Then I asked for a favor. There's a town council meeting in 3 weeks. I'd appreciate community members attending. Show support for community values. 30 neighbors committed on the spot. Day 86 through 95 was the waiting game. I had the city engineer survey my driveway and issue a formal letter certifying that my parking was 100% legal. No violations. Full compliance with all municipal codes. When Cassidy inevitably complained at the town meeting, I'd have official city documentation proving she was lying. She was getting more erratic. More Facebook posts, more complaints to anyone who'd listen, more harassment. She could sense she was losing control, but didn't understand why. Day 93, she made a mistake, sent me a text. "You'll be sorry you didn't sell when I gave you the chance." Screenshot. Forwarded to FBI. Forwarded to DA. Added to evidence file. Threatening a police officer. In writing. From her own phone. The pieces were in position. The net was closing. 8 days until the town council meeting. 8 days until Cassidy Whitmore's world came crashing down. I sat on my porch that evening. The cicadas were humming in the oak trees. The air smelled like summer rain coming. Normal sounds, normal smells. But nothing about this was normal anymore. This was justice. Carefully built, legally sound, and absolutely inevitable. Day 96. Cassidy filed her formal agenda item with the town council. Subject. Public comment on police department accountability. She was going all in. She created a PowerPoint presentation. Neighbors reported seeing her rehearsing through her window, pacing back and forth, gesturing at invisible crowds. She posted a Facebook event. Community members concerned about police overreach. Public forum this Thursday 7 p.m. Invited the local newspaper. Invited the regional TV station. Made it sound like a grassroots movement instead of one woman's vendetta. Her goal was clear. Public humiliation. force my resignation, or trigger a recall. Day 96 also brought the regional media into play. Cassidy contacted a reporter from the Tribune, Janelle Worth, 10-year veteran, decent journalist from what I'd heard. Her pitch: female homeowner terrorized by police chief, who uses his badge to intimidate anyone who dares complain. She provided documentation, carefully edited text messages, photos taken out of context, a timeline that omitted every piece of evidence that contradicted her story. Worth started making calls. Standard journalism. Get both sides. She called me for comment. I kept it professional. There's an ongoing investigation I can't discuss. What I can say is that all ethics complaints against me were investigated and dismissed. I'd encourage you to request the public records. Call logs for my address show a pattern you should see. I also suggested she talk to other neighbors. Get the full picture. Worth was smart. Her instincts told her something was off about Cassidy's story. She started fact-checking. Day 97 brought property damage. My Bronco, keyed along the driver's side. Deep scratches spelling out "corrupt" in jagged letters. It happened at 2 a.m. Security camera caught a figure in a dark hoodie. Face obscured, but the body type matched Cassidy's height and build. The detail that nailed her: shoes. Purple Nike sneakers with silver swooshes. Distinctive. Same shoes she'd worn in earlier doorbell footage when she was on my porch complaining about something. I filed a police report. Deputy Martinez handled it. Kept myself completely removed from the investigation. Martinez noticed the shoes immediately. "Chief, I've seen these before." He pulled up the earlier footage. Same shoes, same gait, same person. Day 98, 4 a.m. My security alarm went off. Someone tried to jimmy my back door. The deadbolt held. Good hardware, installed correctly. But the attempt was clear. I was inside when it happened. Called it in myself, stayed inside, let patrol handle it per protocol. Officers found a screwdriver dropped in the bushes, fresh footprints in the flower bed. The print pattern matched women's size 8 athletic shoes. They took photos, measurements, casting of the prints. The tread pattern matched the purple Nikes from the security footage. Agent Reeves called me that afternoon. "She's panicking. This is perfect." Each new incident was another charge. Property damage, misdemeanor vandalism, attempted break-in, felony burglary attempt. Combined with federal fraud charges, Cassidy was looking at serious prison time. Day 99 and 100, the media circus ramped up. Cassidy doubled down. More Facebook posts framing herself as David fighting Goliath. Brave single woman standing up to corrupt system. Some outsiders believed her. People who didn't know the context, didn't know the history. But the locals saw through it. Mrs. Delacroix wrote a letter to the newspaper. "I've known Garrett Boone for over 40 years. He was 7 years old when I taught him 3rd grade. He has never been anything but respectful and professional. This woman is lying." 15 neighbors co-signed it. The Tribune published it alongside their investigation. Reporter Worth's piece was balanced. Neighbor dispute raises questions. But which side is credible? The article included call logs showing 11 unfounded reports from Cassidy's number. The ethics complaint dismissal. Neighbor testimonials. Cassidy's credibility took a hit. She responded by going more extreme. Day 101, she posted security footage, claiming it showed my police cruiser parked at her house at midnight, intimidating her. The video was clearly edited. Timestamps jumped. Resolution was inconsistent. Different lighting in different segments. A neighbor who works in IT analyzed it frame by frame, posted a detailed breakdown showing the manipulation. The comments flooded in. "This is fake. You edited this. Why are you lying?" Cassidy deleted the post within an hour, started blocking commenters. But screenshots live forever. I saved everything, forwarded it to Agent Reeves. Fabricating evidence, another charge for the pile. The night before the town council meeting, I got a text from Reeves. All set, warrant signed, team in position. District Attorney Mendoza confirmed the state charges were filed under seal, ready to execute. The plan: let Cassidy give her presentation. Midway through her speech, FBI enters and serves the warrant. Maximum impact, maximum consequence, all captured on the TV cameras she'd invited. I pressed my dress uniform that night, polished my badge until it gleamed, reviewed my notes one last time, though I didn't need them. Every fact was burned into my memory. Tomorrow, Cassidy would learn what happens when you weaponize the system against someone who actually knows the system. Tomorrow, justice. The house was quiet. The cicadas had stopped for the season. The air had that cold clarity that comes before something big happens. I slept better than I had in months. Morning of the town council meeting, I woke at 5:30. No alarm needed. Routine morning. Coffee, shower, breakfast. The normalcy was intentional. Stay calm. Stay focused. I pressed my dress uniform, the formal one I save for ceremonies and court appearances. Every crease perfect. Badge polished to mirror shine. My phone buzzed at 7 a.m. Agent Reeves. Team deployed. Surveillance in position. She's packing. Neighbors had been watching. Cassidy made multiple trips to her car throughout the morning, loading boxes into the Mercedes trunk. She was preparing to run. She knew something was wrong. She just didn't know what. Between noon and 5 p.m., the pieces moved into position. I met with DA Mendoza one final time. We reviewed the coordination plan. FBI would enter the council chambers at a specific signal during Cassidy's presentation. Local deputies would be stationed outside in case she tried to flee. Backup plan. If she didn't show to the meeting, FBI would arrest her at her residence immediately. The community started gathering early. Mrs. Delacroix organized carpools for elderly neighbors who didn't drive at night anymore. 53 residents confirmed they were coming. For a routine council meeting that normally draws 10 to 15 people, this was unprecedented. Local reporter Janelle Worth arrived at 6 p.m., an hour early. She sensed something big. Her cameraman started setting up. Regional TV crew showed up, the one Cassidy had invited. They had no idea they were about to film her arrest instead of her moment of triumph. Town council chambers hold 80 people, folding chairs in rows of 10, podium at the front where citizens speak. Council members sit at an elevated desk overlooking the room. FBI agents took positions. 3 in plain clothes, back row, looking like normal residents. 2 more outside blocking exits, all coordinating via radio with local deputies. I'd briefed my deputies generally. Federal operation, need presence for support, without revealing details. They trusted me enough not to ask questions. At 6:15, an unexpected complication arrived. Supervisor Brent Hollister, Cassidy's political ally, the man who'd leaked her ethics complaint. He walked in wearing an expensive suit, American flag pin on his lapel, ready to support her complaint and score political points. Agent Reeves saw him, looked at me. I shrugged. More witnesses. Let him embarrass himself. The FBI had 3 banker boxes of evidence in an unmarked van outside. Financial records, surveillance footage, witness statements from victims in other states. After the arrest, they'd bring the boxes in, show everyone, including the TV cameras, that this wasn't a petty dispute. This was a federal investigation into a serial con artist. 6:30, the crowd swelled. 73 people in an 80-person room. Mixed energy. Some newcomers who believed Cassidy's Facebook posts. Mostly longtime residents who knew me, knew the truth. Cassidy arrived at 6:35. Full power suit. Navy blue, probably cost more than she could afford. Hair and makeup professionally done. She carried printed presentation boards, photos of my Bronco, timeline graphics, excerpted text messages. She scanned the room and saw me sitting quietly in the second row. Our eyes met. She smirked. That same cold smile I'd seen for months. I nodded politely. She thought this was her victory lap. 25 minutes until she learned otherwise. The council members took their seats. Mayor Dwight Sorensen, 68, retired principal, knew me from Little League when I coached his grandson. The council had received a heads up from the DA. Let public comment proceed normally. Federal matter will resolve itself. They were nervous, curious, but they trusted the process. 6:50, Mayor Sorensen gavelled the meeting to order. Routine business first. Budget item approval, 3 minutes. Permit for a fence extension, 2 minutes. 7:03. We now move to public comment. Ms. Whitmore has requested time regarding police accountability. Cassidy stood, walked to the podium with rehearsed confidence, inserted her USB drive for the PowerPoint. The TV camera's red light clicked on. I sat perfectly still, arms crossed, breathing steady, heart rate elevated but controlled. This was it. Agent Reeves sat in the back row, hand near her concealed badge and cuffs. watching, waiting for the signal. The room went quiet. Cassidy tapped the microphone. The sound echoed. She smiled at the crowd, making eye contact with supporters, deliberately avoiding the neighbors she knew opposed her. Mayor Sorensen nodded. "You have 5 minutes, Ms. Whitmore." She took a breath, squared her shoulders. "Good evening. My name is Cassidy Whitmore, and I'm here to expose a pattern of abuse that threatens our entire community." Her PowerPoint clicked to the first slide. Photo of me in uniform next to my house. This man has used his position to systematically intimidate and harass me for one simple reason. I dared to ask him to follow the same rules as everyone else. The performance had begun, and in about 90 seconds, it was going to end. 7:04 p.m. Cassidy's voice filled the council chambers. It started with aggressive parking, escalated to surveillance, patrol cars circling my house at all hours. She clicked to her next slide. Edited text messages that made me look threatening. See how he used his authority to intimidate me? I filed an ethics complaint, my right as a citizen, and the harassment intensified. She showed the photo of her keyed car, the one she'd keyed herself. After I dared to speak up, this happened to my vehicle. Coincidence? Her voice rose, practiced outrage. If a police chief can act this way with impunity, what hope do ordinary citizens have? Some of the outsiders in the room nodded. They were buying it. The neighbors who knew better shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Delacroix whispered loudly, "Complete nonsense." Cassidy ignored her, building to her crescendo. "I'm calling for immediate suspension of Chief Boone, pending independent investigation. Furthermore, I've documented civil rights violations, abuse of power, and..." 7:09 p.m. The rear door of the council chambers opened. 3 people in navy windbreakers entered. FBI, printed in yellow across the back. Agent Yolanda Reeves, badge held high. FBI, Cassidy Whitmore? The room went completely silent. Every head turned. The TV camera swung to capture the agents. Cassidy's face went through 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Confusion, recognition, fear, calculation, denial. "What? You can't, he set me up." She pointed at me, hand shaking. "This is harassment. He's using his connections to..." Agent Reeves reached the podium. Professional, calm, authoritative. "Cassidy Whitmore, you are under arrest for wire fraud, bank fraud, and making false statements to federally insured financial institutions." She pulled out a card, began reading Miranda rights as a second agent moved to position handcuffs. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Cassidy's voice climbed to a shriek. "This is insane. You can't arrest me for complaining about a corrupt cop." Agent Reeves didn't pause. "This is a federal investigation into mortgage fraud and interstate financial crimes. We have evidence of 8 instances across 5 states. The handcuffs clicked shut. Cassidy struggled against them. "He set me up. All of you. You're all part of this." She twisted to face the council. "You don't see? He's the chief of police here. You don't see the conflict of interest?" Mayor Sorensen looked stunned. The whole council did. Agent Reeves addressed the room. "For transparency, this investigation has been ongoing for 6 months across multiple jurisdictions. Chief Boone has been cooperating as a witness, not a subject of investigation." A third agent wheeled in a dolly stacked with document boxes. These contain evidence of a multi-state fraud scheme, property records showing pattern of fraudulent real estate transactions, victim statements from Arizona, Nevada, and California, financial documentation proving false income claims on federally insured loans. Cassidy's screaming got louder. "I want my lawyer. This is entrapment. You can't do this." "Ma'am, this investigation originated in California and predates your move to this county by 8 months. Chief Boone provided evidence of current criminal activity only." They started walking her toward the door. She dug her heels in, still screaming. "This isn't over. I'll sue every one of you. You can't treat me like this." The door closed behind them. Her voice faded down the hallway. The room sat in absolute silence for 5 seconds. Then I stood, walked to the podium. The TV camera swung back to me. Mayor Sorensen looked like he'd been hit with a brick. "Chief Boone, What just..." I took a breath. "For the record, I filed no complaints that led to this arrest. The FBI contacted me 4 weeks ago regarding an existing multi-state investigation. I cooperated as a witness and provided documentation of events at my residence. I looked directly at the camera. The harassment I experienced was real, but it was never personal. It was part of a pattern this individual has used in multiple communities to facilitate real estate fraud. I turned to the council. I apologize for the disruption to tonight's proceedings, then to my neighbors. I appreciate this community's support. This is what happens when people look out for each other. I pulled a manila folder from inside my jacket. Mayor Sorensen, for the record, I'd like to submit documentation. I opened it. City engineer's certification, my driveway parking fully compliant with all codes. Call log showing 11 false reports from Cassidy's address. Witness statements from 8 neighbors documenting harassment attempts. She claimed I was the problem. Evidence shows she systematically targeted multiple families on this street. The room erupted in spontaneous applause. Mrs. Delacroix stood. I've lived here 50 years. Garrett Boone is a good man. That woman is a con artist. Half the room stood with her. District Attorney Mendoza entered from the side door. State charges have also been filed. Criminal harassment, attempted burglary, vandalism, making false police reports. She looked at me. Chief Boone showed remarkable restraint throughout this ordeal. Reporter Janelle Worth was frantically scribbling notes. The TV camera was still rolling. Supervisor Hollister tried to slip toward the exit. The camera caught that too. Neighbors clustered around me. Handshakes, back pats, some tears. The Okonkwo's pushed through the crowd. She tried this with us too. Thank you for stopping her. Gary Tinsdale. My son was accused by her. Can we give statements to the FBI? They'll be contacting everyone who had interactions with her. The weight lifted. Months of tension, documentation, restraint. Worth. The concrete was cold under my feet as I walked out of the chambers an hour later. The night smelled like autumn rain coming. Justice delivered. Community protected. Finally, this nightmare was over. 2 weeks later, the legal aftermath was clear. Cassidy sat in county jail, held without bail. Flight risk, her history of fleeing jurisdictions made that decision easy. Federal charges: 8 counts wire fraud, 3 counts bank fraud, 2 counts making false statements. State charges: harassment, attempted burglary, vandalism, filing false police reports. Public defender assigned because she claimed poverty. FBI forensics revealed $340,000 in hidden accounts from previous schemes. Victims from other states started coming forward. A class action lawsuit was forming. The fire captain from Arizona, the school principal from California, families she'd terrorized in Nevada. The house next door went into immediate foreclosure. Bank nullified the mortgage. Fraud voids contracts. The property sold within a week. $425,000. Realistic price. The buyers? The Okonkwo's from down the street. They bought it for extended family. From enemy territory to friendly neighbors in one transaction. The first week after the arrest, the neighborhood threw a spontaneous block party. Mrs. Delacroix organized a potluck, celebrating good people winning. 43 families showed up, kids playing in my driveway, the infamous driveway that started everything. Music, laughter, the sense that our street belonged to us again. Gary Tinsdale's son helped me install a new mailbox to replace the one damaged during the harassment. The kid was quiet, careful with the tools, bonding over something simple and normal. Reporter Janelle Worth published a comprehensive investigative piece, How One Con Artist Manipulated Housing Markets Across 5 States. It went viral. 2.3 million reads in the first week. The story sparked a national conversation about stated income loan fraud and the need for better verification. I was featured, but kept it minimal. Credit goes to the FBI and the victims brave enough to come forward. 3 months later, the community had healed. I parked my Bronco in the same spot every day. No second thoughts, no looking over my shoulder. The security cameras stayed up, peace of mind, but the tension was gone. I slept through the night for the first time in months. 8 hours, no waking up to check my phone. My relationship with the neighbors was stronger than before. Shared adversity does that. I did 2 therapy sessions. Processing harassment isn't weakness, it's maintenance. I recommended it to others in similar situations. The County Board of Supervisors issued a formal apology for the ethics investigation. They'd followed procedure, but they acknowledged the complaint was weaponized. Supervisor Hollister quietly resigned, politically untenable after he'd publicly backed a federal criminal. The new supervisor commended me at a public meeting for exemplary professionalism under extraordinary personal attack. Department morale improved. My staff had watched me practice what I preach: de-escalation, documentation, trusting legal process. They saw it work. 6 months after the arrest, I established the Good Neighbor Fund, a non-profit using $50,000 from the restitution pool. Purpose: help harassment victims with legal documentation, security camera installation, court filing fees. First year, we helped 8 families in the county facing similar neighbor harassment. I turned my trauma into systemic help for others. Mrs. Delacroix had an idea that made everyone laugh. She organized a small ceremony, invited the whole street. We installed a plaque at the edge of my driveway, tongue-in-cheek but meaningful. Inscription: Freedom Driveway, established 2025, park where you live. Neighbors took photos, kids made jokes about it. The message was clear: we'd moved forward together. My brother Marcus and the twins became regular visitors again. The kids played freely in the yard. No more CPS threats. No more tension. I started dating someone, a teacher I met at a community event. Nothing serious yet, but normal felt good. Weekend carpentry projects resumed. I built a bookshelf from the old fence wood. Life returned to boring, beautiful, normal. 9 months later, Cassidy's trial concluded. She pleaded guilty. Evidence was overwhelming. Sentencing: 6 years federal prison, 3 years supervised release. Restitution ordered. $1.4 million to victims across all states. Her statement at sentencing blamed everyone else. I was set up, no real remorse. I attended, gave a victim impact statement. I don't hate you. I pity the trail of damage you left. I hope prison gives you time to find actual remorse. 1-year anniversary of the first 911 call. The neighborhood held its now annual block party. Oakmont Drive was thriving. New families moving in. Word had spread. Great community. I stood at my grill, flipping burgers. The Bronco in the driveway, same spot that started everything. Mrs. Delacroix brought potato salad. No one's calling 911 this year, right? Laughter all around. The sun was setting, kids playing. Normal sounds of a neighborhood that had fought for itself and won. I thought about that first morning. Cassidy pounding on my window. How small she'd tried to make me feel in my own home. Instead, she'd made this whole street into family. A text buzzed. Mrs. Delacroix. New neighbor 2 streets over demanding everyone change parking for her luxury vehicle. Here we go again, I texted back. Let me know when you need the Good Neighbor Fund manual. We were ready now, stronger, together. I raised my coffee mug to the evening sky. Park where you live. Know your rights. Build your community. Have you dealt with an entitled neighbor, HOA nightmare, or property dispute? Drop your story in the comments. The craziest one gets featured in next week's video. Don't hold back. We want the full story. And if you love seeing justice served with a side of poetic irony, hit that subscribe button. We've got 47 more stories about people who played stupid games and won stupid prizes. Next week, the landlord who tried to evict a tenant for excessive water use. Didn't know the tenant was an environmental lawyer with EPA connections. You won't believe how that ends. Park where you live. Know your rights. Build your community.